So let's take a turn. Let's take a little. I wouldn't say left. Let's go right. Let's go right. All right.
Yeah.
So in the midst of the pandemic, man, in the midst of this whole time, everybody's doing good, man. People are getting antsy. People are ready. They're slowly opening up the country, and all of a sudden, George Floyd happens. Man.
Right.
Where were you, and what went through your mind when you got wind of it versus when you actually seen the video, if you saw the video?
Yes. So when I heard about it, I don't think it really did much justice for me until I actually saw it. Because you hear about police officers killing unarmed black men all the time. When I actually saw the video, and I'm like, yo, come on,
Mm-hmm.
And then when he actually died, I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was very appalled because I'm like, man, that was very unnecessary. And this one, unfortunately, out of all of the incidents similar to that, this one was a straw that, to me, officially broke the camel's back.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're seeing statues being taken down. You see the NFL is looking into renaming, the Washington Redskins and actually being serious about it now. You see more businesses taking a stand for diversity. You see Black Lives Matter have the attention of the U.S. right now. You even see people in different countries, supporting, saying that, hey, African Americans, their lives matter, and it's always sad that it takes something bad to happen to draw somebody's attention. But now it's like, okay, we have the floor. Not only do we have the floor, but we have your ear. We have everybody's ear. We have all the attention is on us, the individuals who are influencers in our community. Now it's okay, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
This is going to last forever. So when we pass away, our kids, they'll be able to walk in certain freedoms, or they have opportunities that we didn't have. And the truth is that there were people before us who did that for us. Mm-hmm. Like Martin Luther King never experienced segregation, but he fought for. Desegregation. My apologies. He never experienced desegregation, but he fought for desegregation. And even people who we don't know who fought for civil rights, who never got the chance to experience it, but we are living in the freedom based off of somebody else's sacrifice. Yep. So, now what are we going to sacrifice in the wake of all of this so that we ourselves, our kids and their kids, can have a better future and greater opportunities?
Yeah, man. It's something, man, when you break it down like that, because we are, like I said, the reason that me and you could be here, drive when we want to, leave when we want to, is because, other African Americans fought for it, risked their lives and risked their freedoms. And I remember seeing the video, because I remember hearing about it. And like you said, you hear about it so much. I thought they were talking about the Eric Garner thing. 'Cause I heard somebody say, my man couldn't breathe. So I remember laying in bed watching the video, and I didn't know he died until I watched the video. So no one told me he died. They just say, yo, you got to watch this,
Right.
So I just remember, man, seeing darn, this is broad daylight. Facebook Live. Yeah. My man's got his hands in his pocket and his chest out, and he just had this look about him. And I remember, watching the interview, it's by him having his hand in his pocket, he can force more pressure down on his neck. And I'm thinking, if for you to do that in broad daylight, Facebook Live in front of people, you had to, it's somewhere in your mind, you was like, ain't nothing gonna happen to me.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
feeling invincible.
Yeah, and so I think, like you said, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. This is that drop of water, man, that ran the whole cup over. And I watched people protest. Like my cousin was arrested twice, protesting. I watched people doing this, and I'm like, once again, there's opportunity in the midst of chaos.
Right.
But what I don't want to do is get lost in the sauce where it's we're just making noise.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so my whole thing is we need leaders to lead this movement to make sure that we go out, we register to vote.
Right.
Because we need to know, like, there's no need, man, like, in knowing all the characters on Love and Hip Hop and these crazy shows.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me 3 of the councilmen in your city or your county or whatever, or who the district attorney is or who the mayor is. So we got to educate ourselves on things that really matter and really shift our priorities, because right now we have the power to vote and we have the actual number.
Right.
When you're looking at not only African Americans that's coming out, but the different races that are coming out to actually support this movement, this is a great opportunity to use those voting polls, you know what I'm saying, to really structure change. Like, I think I was listening to Killer Mike, and he was saying that we need to come up with a 10-point agenda or whatever, and you take that to your local officials. This is what you need to do to get our vote. Right. And if you can't do it, then you won't get our vote. That's real, but I think the problem is, Shaquille, is, you know, we're not making that a priority. Yeah. To get involved on a local level. So how do you think we could get involved or turn this built up energy, which is good energy, right, into that kinetic energy, that good moving energy, man, in the right path to get people, okay, now you're protesting, young man, but this is how you really make impact. Like, how do we get them involved in local politics? Yeah, so, you know, it's quite a few ways how to go about doing that. The first thing I'll say is when it comes to voting, especially for city council, it should always go back to what are they trying to do? The policies, what are they trying to initiate? Mm-hmm. You know, oftentimes we vote for people because maybe we know them or, you know, we like how they look or whatever the case may be. But I'll look at it now every time, but like, especially now, what are you trying to do? What are you going to do to uplift and make the community better? How are you going to address these issues? What if this happened in our backyard? What would you do? What would you say? And, you know, I learned a lot just by seeing, seeing how people operate who are running for city council. We just had an election here. Yeah. And I'll say this, you know, what ended up happening, it's like for those individuals, I'm not saying anybody in particular, but I'll just say example, when you have something like this that happened with George Floyd, and you have a re-election coming up, some people can be intentional about saying something just to get elected or just to get re-elected. Yep. And I'm not saying anybody did that, but just saying in general, you know, those things can happen. And that's how it comes off. Right, and that's how it can come off. But the rubber hits the road is like when you do have the seat, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to say? So we need to start off first by paying attention to the people who we're voting for. What policies are they trying to initiate? What are they trying to do? Even before something bad happens, it doesn't take something bad to happen for you to want to do something to uplift your community. So what are they trying to do? That's the first thing that we have to do. Then we look at what can we do? So, for example, I'm not a protester, so you're not going to see me out protesting at all. That's just not my lane. However, I will use a platform like this to spread love, to spread an encouraging message, to spread unity. And so we have to find what lane works best for us, and then we have to self-evaluate and think, what is it? What's the problem? What can we do in our position? And then we have to execute that. And even if you're not starting a whole revolution or anything like that, I'm not saying go out and you have to be the one to, you know, start a building fund for a brand new community center. That'd be phenomenal. But, you know, not everybody's going to do that. Yep. But you do have influence wherever you are. So how are we going to use our influence in the lane that we're in? And so we have to look at the policies that the individuals in city council, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to initiate. We have to look and see, okay, my skill set and what I'm good at, with the problem that's going on, what can I do about it? And I need to do just that. So for me, for example, like I said, I'm not a protester, so you won't see a video of me out at a protest. But what I did, I took my platform, Keeping Real with Shaquille, and I discussed what we need to do and things that we can do. And then also 3, where there's hurt, be willing to mend broken relationships, start afresh, be willing to forgive, be willing to show love. So, you know, we had some situations that happened in our backyard in Lynchburg, and I knew some people that were affected by it
on both sides. And so for individuals that I knew, I reached out to them. You know, I gave them my thoughts on what could be good as far as moving forward, how to bring unity, how to bring healing to the community. And you know, I listened to what they had to say. They listened to what I had to say. And then, you know, I played a small role in trying to connect those individuals with people that could hear their voice, that could help them in their position to restore brokenness or restore things that weren't right. And that was just a role that I had because I'm good with building relationships. So that's a role that I played, but I didn't go out and, you know, I wasn't on a street corner because that's just not me.
Yeah.
So find what you're good at and use what you're good at to invest and bring the change that you want to see in the community. That's what you have to do.
And I think it starts with relationships and conversations because I actually did an interview which should be coming out next week with the police chief, Ryan Zudema, and just talking to different people. And you're going to see more of that, me talking to people that's on the other side to see.
Right.
Because that's the only way that we can actually make it happen. And I've heard several comments or, you know, seen things where people are saying this about me, but this is how the police aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Unless you want to be the military to come in and martial law take effect, the police aren't going anywhere, in my opinion. And so unless we come up with, you know, some way to, you know, control or restructure the way they police, we got to start having conversations with those guys.
Right, yeah.
And see, okay, what can you do to change your policing styles or, you know, get rid of these tactics, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so even on like a job setting, like having it, like I've been having conversations with, you know, a lot of Caucasian people that I realize that the majority of them don't understand what it's like for us.
Yeah.
You know, some of them get it, some of them don't. And I think when there's the misunderstanding, there's the disconnect because we assume that they should already know.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But then you look at, okay, I look at their age, I look at where they live. I'm like, well, normally when you look at violence and everything, it's kind of proximal.
Yeah.
So if you're living in a Caucasian neighborhood, if somebody's did violence, you normally it's going to be someone that's Caucasian. Black neighborhood, black on black crime or whatever.
Right.
But they're not exposed to us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're not outside of work and school. They see one side. So when you look at what the media pushes,
yeah,
you see what I'm saying? What we push as a society, the different types of movies and music, that's what they see glorified.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I think when they're actually trying to listen to us talk and we can articulate how we feel, now the understanding piece comes in, and now there's a light being shined on it.
Yeah.
And now that's why I think you're seeing these people out protesting with us, because after seeing that, you know, the whole George Floyd thing, I think that's from start to finish, this is on camera. You know what I'm saying? And I've heard stories about it, but man, I actually watched it for myself. And now I think that instead of people being more divided, you know, we got to come together, but it starts with conversation.
Yeah. You know, shout out to Mama Crockett's. They did something like a month ago where they just served free donuts and coffee, and it was just open dialogue for people from different walks of life, different cultures, ethnicities, people who didn't look like each other. And the common goal was for everybody to walk away with a better understanding and to see how can I help. And so, you know, I'll talk with Hispanics, I talked to Caucasians, I talked to African Americans. We all sat in a circle and we discussed what was going on. And you had people who didn't look like me that said, hey, no, I don't understand what it's like to be an African American. I don't understand what it's like to be in your shoes. But how can I help? Even though I don't know how it feels, but I want to do something.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, it is okay to not know how it feels because I don't know how it feels to be in your shoes.
Yeah.
I don't know how it feels to be a Caucasian in America. I don't know how it feels to be Jewish.
Exactly.
You know, I don't know how that feels from personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the first thing is establishing what we do and do not understand.
Yeah.
Then we say, okay, well, even though you don't understand, whatever position you're in, you can play a role in your position to make sure that diversity is exemplified. You can play a role in your position to make sure that unity is exemplified and glorified. So that when people see you, they see unity. When people see you, they see love. When people see you, they don't see somebody that's judgmental. They see somebody that doesn't judge them, that accepts them for who they are, and only pushes them to be better regardless of where they're from, regardless of what they look like. And then from there, we can continue to walk together. And even though we are unified and one because of the mission that we have, we still understand that we're different at the very same time. And so I understand when somebody tells me, hey, I don't know what it feels like. And like I said, I say back, I don't know what it feels like to be in your shoes neither.
Yep.
I don't know what it feels like to be a Caucasian cop and I'm walking down, I'm doing my job or whatever, but in the back of my mind, somebody feels as if I may, harass somebody that's African American today. And I may not be racist at all, but that's just a reality for me.
Yeah.
The same thing for the cop doesn't know what it's like to be an African American that may get a little nervous when you see a cop pull up behind you and the things that the things that run through your mind because of the reality, the things not only that we see on television or in movies, but the things that actually really do happen. And so I took the opportunity when I saw a state trooper at the gas station, Caucasian state trooper. I just pulled up beside him and said, hey, listen, first off, I commend you for your job. I understand that right now we're going through a challenging time in our nation. But, I believe the people in all positions that do the right thing should be commended for it, should be praised for it. Because you have people in all different positions, whether that person is a president of a business or a chief operating officer or even just a district manager or just a supervisor. You have people who abuse their power all the time. And it may not have the same notoriety or the same attention as a police officer, but you have individuals who abuse their power and create issues that affect people for a lifetime, and it affects their kids. And so what I told him, I said, we have to continue to walk together. I understand that not every cop is a bad cop. Not every African-American man walking down the street is selling drugs. Not every Caucasian man with a suit and tie on is guilty of inside trading. No, these are stereotypes, but but not everybody is guilty of that stereotype. And so we have to understand that and walk together. And that's what I told him, and he appreciated that. And I know that, I can tell by his reaction that he needed to hear that. Yeah. Because, there's no telling what somebody else may be thinking when they see him in the store or anything like that. So
I would say it's a difficult time for the good cops, man.
It is.
And I in my interview with the police chief, we talked, and he had brought up something I hadn't even thought about. He said, have you thought about how the black cops feel? Yeah. Because they're being pulled in both directions. Yeah, yeah. And he was like, and sometimes it can get pretty ugly for them because in the community, they're viewed this way. Then by their, police staff, they're viewed like which side are you going to be on? Right. And to me, I think we should make people pick sides, like going back to what you said, if protest is not your lane, don't view because I'm not protesting that I don't care. Right. I may just be going about it a different route. You know what I mean? Right. And my fear with that is like when the NFL starts, when different things go back to normal, you're going to see people using this kneeling thing as a mode of division. You're going to see people using the protesting thing as a mode of division because it's like, because I'm not being active, like being an activist in your way, doesn't mean I don't care about the movement and what's going on.
Yeah, somebody told me to encourage somebody to use words if necessary. And so, just because you're not doing it in the form or fashion somebody else is doing it does not mean that you're not using your voice. The one ultimate way of using your voice, apart from speaking, going to the voting polls. People may not know exactly who you voted for, but you exercise your voice. Yep. By filling in a blank to put somebody in office is going to bring a significant change to your community or to your nation. And so, even myself, even when Colin Kaepernick started the kneeling, I understood without a shadow of a doubt why. That's not something that I would do personally. I would just do things, me personally, I would do things different because that's just not me. Yeah. And I had to learn to be comfortable with it. People, where division tends to happen, like you mentioned, people think that, okay, well, if you don't do it this way, you'll sell out. You're Uncle Tom, you're a cop out, and then that right there creates the vision.
All right, so what can our community do? Like, what can the black community do? Like, outside of, dealing with other races and outside of leaning on the politicians and waiting on, a different system to help us. Like, what can we do as individuals and as the black community?
We have to educate ourselves, number one. Financial literacy, we have to educate ourselves on, we have to see our own value and uplift each other. Without a doubt, we can't wait for somebody else to, take the initiative to uplift us. We have to say, listen, man, we have to support one another. We have to support each other's businesses. We have to support each other's initiatives. Like, for example, my wife and I, we have a scholarship that we give out every year. Even if you don't create a scholarship or an organization, sow time, sow seed, sow money into something that's going to help benefit people for a generation. Educate yourself on laws and policies and see what it is that you want to change or what it is that you can do. Like I said, get in where you can fit in and connect with people who can help enhance the vision and get things done. We can do a lot. We can definitely do a lot. Take those properties that are run down and you turn it into something new. You turn it and you repurpose, you refurbish it. But you first have to learn how to do it, which goes back to educating yourself. Apart from educating ourselves, it's like the blind leading the blind. Nobody knows which direction or what to do. So we have to educate ourselves, find, the passion, get in where we can fit in, and be intentional about giving back to the community, whether it's through scholarships, whether it's, building a community center, or, supporting each other's businesses. You don't have to go out and wear designer all the time. I could wear a Teflon John shirt, help put money in your pocket, and then that helps you, continue to build your platform so that you can get more people will be listening to you and it be reaching even more people. And all of that could just come from just me supporting you, buying your T-shirt, and it could be changing millions of lives just by spending $35 on your T-shirt. So, we have to see it that way. We have to have that perspective, and we have to execute, brother.
Okay, so what do you think? Because I think all that is true. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to learn. We have to do financial literacy, and in order to support our families, support our businesses. But I also think, man, that we have to hold ourselves accountable.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that just starts at, in your own home. Yeah. Like what other place could you control better than your own home? You know what I'm saying? So make sure that you're being there for your kids and make sure that, that you're being there for your wife and vice versa, and that you're teaching your kids, because I think it's easier to, I think it's a harder battle to go after the politicians. Yeah. First, when the easiest thing that you can really control is your household. You know what I'm saying? Now, I do think, we need to learn who our local officials are. Right. And we need to attack it that route also, man, because I think it's a difficult fight it's a difficult fight when you don't know who your enemy is. Right. We don't know who the opposition is. And right now the opposition is ignorance because we don't have any education.
Right. When you educate yourself, you find out who the opposition is. Yeah. If you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. And going back to what you said, holding ourselves accountable, we have to have the right people in our circle. We have to have, like, for example, like I have friends that, hold me accountable to where I'm investing my monies. My wife holds me accountable to, us saving. We hold each other accountable to paying our bills, taking care of responsibilities, making sure that, we manage our time properly. So we have to have the right people in our circle to help us to be accountable so that we can continue to elevate. It doesn't make sense for us to have a mission and to be driving towards a mission, but the people who are in our inner circle are the ones pulling us back. Their mentality is wrong. You don't want to do what's right and probably manage your money or invest it. You want to constantly buy the latest trends that's coming out and then end up being broke and not paying your bills. So it's like if you are destined to try to go somewhere and be somewhere, if you're destined to be a billionaire, you have to think like one and surround yourself with people who have that same thought process. Yeah. If I want to be a phenomenal entrepreneur, not only do I have to study great entrepreneurs, but I have to be around people who are either trying to do the same thing that I'm trying to do, and in addition to that, be around people who already done or is doing what I want to do, so they can show me the ropes, so they can give me information from personal experience on how to be successful in the path that I'm trying to go. So accountability is very important because there are going to be days where we don't feel like doing anything. But having that accountability partner and having the right people on our in our circle will help us continue to go when we don't feel like it.
Yeah, you're exactly right, man. And the reason that I say accountability, because right now I think we have not only the accountability to our homes and our families,
Right.
but to ourselves as a community.
Absolutely.
Because right now we're at war with too many other things. We got police brutality, we got racism, but we also at war with ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's been like that from, through generations.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one thing that we need to address, that we're our brothers. Now, will it be violence, black on black crime? Yes.
Yeah.
I think that crime is proximal. You're normally, a victim of crime with people that you live around.
Yeah.
But I think that there's an issue that has to be addressed. It's like the elephant in the room. So while we're doing this Black Lives Matter, while we're talking about, the average black life, we need to look at not only who's taking the life, but we need to look at the value, who's valuing that life.
Right. And we also have to look at what are we saying and doing to prevent those things from happening. Because, we have police brutality, we have black on black crimes. And, these things have been happening for years, and we understand that. But we all have a responsibility to ourselves, our family, and our communities. And so we have to ask ourselves, what am I doing to make sure that the people that I'm keeping myself accountable, then also I'm keeping the people accountable in my inner circle, because the people in my inner circle, and everybody else makes up the community. And so what am I saying to the young kids? What am I saying to the teenagers? What am I saying to the adults? Like, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. Because life and death comes out of the tongue. So am I speaking life to people? That's what we have to ask ourselves, and that's what we have to first start with accountability. What are we putting into the community? Because if I go, say, for example, there's an altercation happening, two people are arguing, and somebody has a gun, and I decide to go over there, am I going to speak life into the situation to diffuse the situation and to help people see in that moment, hey, listen, both of your lives have value. There's no need to even go down that route. Let's diffuse it. Let's become better. Let's, help each other and not result to violence. But if I go over there and instigate it, then that's adding more fuel to the fire. Exactly. And then somebody's going to end up getting hurt. Then somebody may end up losing their life. Then you have another whole page of issues going to happen. Somebody's losing a father or a mother. Somebody's losing a loved one. Home could be broken. And we didn't help out because we added fuel to the fire. So we have to be intentional and ask ourselves, what are we doing on a daily basis that is producing, or at least planting the seeds to produce the results that we want to see in our own communities? We're going to hold people in high positions, politicians, and people in office accountable. But what are we doing to keep ourselves accountable to see what we want to see in our own backyard? That's what it all boils down to. And when we actually look at it that way, I think that I myself and everybody else who's watching to say, okay, start thinking about, okay, what am I doing? What am I saying? Because I can't. I'm not going to look over in my neighbor's backyard and say, hey, listen, man, you need to cut your weaves. And then my weaves are hanging up, they're like 6 feet tall. I got some issues in my own backyard.
You got to deal with them first.
And and I don't expect them to come over in my own backyard and cut my grass. I expect to take responsibility of that.
Yep.
So I need to take care of what's in my backyard. And in this sense, I'm going to say the backyard is the community. So what am I investing, whether it's a scholarship, words of encouragement, or meeting with the youth, or meeting with adults and educating? What am I doing on my behalf to build what it is that I want to see, versus sitting back, waiting on somebody else to do it, just sitting back wasting time when we could actually take whatever we do have. I'm not saying you need $1 billion or $1 million, but, we could start something. You got to start somewhere. And then from there, the vision can continue to be enhanced and grow, and then money can start being poured into building what it is that you want to see. But we have to, like I said, we have to start by doing a self-evaluation, looking at ourselves and asking ourselves, what is it that I want to see and what can I do to help produce that before we even try to hold other people accountable for what we want to see in our own community.
Yep. And I think, man, right now in the black community, like more than ever, man, we need some leaders to actually, step up.
Right.
And we need people to lead, within their own lane. Because right now we have the older generation, people that are involved in the NAACP, like things are changing.
Right.
And I think there are a lot of people that are pointing to what could be done, what needs to be done, but no one's willing to step up and do it.
Right.
No one's willing to invest that time to say, okay, what could we do different?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think until we swallow that pill of truth and we take that drink of truth, man, and realize, okay, there's some truth to what's being said out here, what we can work on as a people, what we need to work on as a community. I think until we get to that point, change is inevitable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we need to really work on that. And saying, okay, with the deaths in Chicago, with those 6 kids being shot, like, why aren't we going off and making noise about that? You know what I'm saying? And I think some people take it the wrong way, man, because it's not like we're saying the Black Lives Matter movement is not just. We're just saying, why are we only making noise at certain times?
Right. Yeah. And we have to start by what's going on in our own communities, in our own inner circles. Like, for example, like I mentioned to you, like my one of my best friends was shot in the head, and by a black man. And I remember dropping everything and going to the hospital to be by his bedside with him and his family, and a terrible sight. His skull, they had to take his skull out to finish the surgery, and this is somebody who I've been close to like this since kindergarten. Since we were pretty much in diapers, if you ask me. So there was, to me, the movements that make volume or make noise when certain things happen need to be involved when those things happen in our own communities, because sometimes it could send out the wrong message that our lives matter when a particular person takes it, or when a particular person in a particular position take it, and that sends out the wrong message. And we have to say our lives are valuable at all times. So no matter who takes it, nobody should be taking anybody else's life. That's where we have to start, if you ask me. And so we have to do an evaluation and say, okay, yes, I'm going to use my voice, but I want to make sure that when a kid is hit by a stray bullet, that I'm using my voice then just as much as when a police officer kills an unarmed African American. I want to make sure that that, like I said, when a stray bullet hits my friend, like my friend was hit by a stray bullet, that I'm making noise then as well. Yeah,
every life should pretty much be equal.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Regardless of the situation, or regardless how the life is taken away, unfortunately, it should all matter. And, to me, it starts with us, those who have that perspective, educating, and then also being vocal and taking the leadership, taking the baton, and, raising up high so that people can see it. There's no need to have a baton and keep it down like this. You have to raise that thing high so people can see it.
Yep.
And, and lead the way, take charge. Even if nobody comes alongside with you, you have to keep going in spite of that, because you have to keep moving forward in what you believe. And there are always going to be people that are going to have differences of opinion, and, they're going to think contrary. And, that's, everybody has the right to their own opinion. And, we can appreciate that. But that doesn't mean that we can't continue to keep moving in the right direction.
Yep.
And we have to be able to open up our eyes and say, okay, I see what you're saying. You see what I'm saying. But we have to make sure that we are being vocal in our own backyard when situations are happening. And if I have a situation that happens in my house, I have to be vocal about that as a leader and as a man in my house before I even go next door and help them with their situation. If I have something going on, I need to take care of home.
Exactly.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, so, man, hey, it was a pleasure having you, man.
Absolutely, brother.
We'll continue this conversation. We'll have a part 2.
Yeah.
But go ahead and give everybody, man, all your social media links or where they can follow you.
Guys, so make sure right now that you go to my YouTube page, type in Shaquille E. Cook, click subscribe. Go follow my talk show, Keeping It Real with Shaquille, on Facebook. Go and like that page. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. Subscribe to the College Football Highlight Podcast. And if you go to my YouTube page, you'll be able to see Keeping It Real with Shaquille talk show and my other show, Dude Loves Food. So, guys, make sure that you support. And also, donate to our scholarship. This year, we're raising $3,000 to give two $1,500 scholarships out to students, high school students that are going off to college this fall. So the deadline to apply is August 4th, but we still need your financial support to help send our students off to educate themselves, to become better, and to also invest back into their communities, and we need your support to do that. So you can cash at me at Shaquille Cook, and if you do, regardless of the amount, whether it's $1, $5, $500, you will receive one of these wristbands that says "I am outstanding" to remind you that you invested in something that you're going to receive a lifetime return back on.
It's great news with great people, man. I would like to end this by just saying I appreciate you, man, for coming on. And just to all the listeners out there, look, do your part. Me and Shaquille are doing our part, and we're using the platform that we already have.
Right.
So, like he said earlier in a different segment of this interview, use whatever you already have. Like, use whatever your lane is, whatever your platform is. It may not be protesting. It may be speaking. It may be blogging. It may be doing videos. It may be politics. Whatever it is, you can make a difference. And let's start at our own home. Let's start in our own community and hold ourselves accountable before we expect anybody else to do anything. And as I always say, one love, be blessed.